Hey folks, joining Lone Oak Survival. So today we're going to be talking about self-defense, not in the usual context of the topic that you're thinking about, so please stick around. Alright folks, before we continue on with this whole topic here, I do have to say, one, I'm not a lawyer, so this isn't legal advice to talk about self-defense like this. And number two, I'm going to give my little legal spiel of warningness, right? So please follow all local, state, and federal laws. My fellow Americans, I'll add this onto that whole spiel. Until those laws become unconstitutional, then please consider them null and void. If you guys are a little confused what I'm talking about, reread the Constitution of the United States of America, and also please check out the Supremacy Clause, Article 6, Section 2 of that Article 6, and then you will kind of understand where I'm coming from with that. Now, that being said, guys, I do have some notes I've written down, so I'm not going to be going down rabbit holes and ranting and raving throughout this whole thing. So, self-defense, first point, distance to travel. That's a little weird now, isn't it? Yes. How this is going to work is I'm still going to focus on the aspect of we're trying to bug out or get home from whatever location we're at. So from location A to location B, whatever your plan is, it's going to be. I'm not going to focus on the everyday aspect of like, oh, we got lost in the woods type thing, because that, again, that goes into a lot of legality stuff, and I'm not a lawyer, so I don't want to dabble with that. I'm going to go for the entertainment side of stuff here and talk about shit's the fan or grid down, COG, or just no government period. So keep that in mind. That's what we're talking about here. Now, distance to travel, right? The balloon goes up. You heard word first. You're like, oh, crap, I got to get out of whatever area you live in, right? The rural area, the suburban, urban, whatever it's going to be. Now, traveling, I'm not going to include vehicles in this as well. I'm going to stick to the tried and true. We have everything on our backpack. You know, we're carrying it on our back. We're walking through whatever environment we live in to get to said location. Why do I want to include vehicles this, guys? Because it adds a huge what-if factor to this whole scenario. That, and personally, if you don't have to take a vehicle, I wouldn't, because you have to worry about road jams and other drivers. You also have to worry about possible ambushes, depending on how long the emergency has been going on and whatnot. Everyone's always like, oh, by day 3, everyone loses their crap. Maybe, maybe not. Depends, again, the environment and the area you live in. But it is a possibility. So always be prepared to carry your stuff on foot on your back. That's what I'm going to be talking about too. So, weight of your weapon system. Okay, what is your weapon system in the first place? Is it, say, a bolt gun, like an old style, actual wooden steel bolt gun? Is it a lever action, single action? Is it semi-auto, gas, operated, whatever it's going to be? What is the weight of that weapon system? That's going to be dictated, or should be at least in the consideration of, okay, I have to walk 120 miles to get there. You probably want to carry something that's 9 pounds on your back, or 9.5, depending if you have a scope on that thing, on average, for an old-fashioned bolt gun. Now, not saying you can't. I'll never say you guys can't carry what you want, but me personally, I want to carry my 7.5-pound rifle here that has a 30-round magazine if I need it, and that's a standard magazine, not high capacity. Now, moving on, you also have to consider the weight of the ammunition you'll be carrying. Okay, it does play into the role of like, okay, how much of the ammunition am I carrying, so on and so forth. That's kind of a personal decision what you guys want to carry there. But how much is the actual ammunition compared to other weapon systems that you may want to bring or may have in the group that's coming with you? For example, 5.56/223 is lighter than a 12 gauge ammunition, depending if it's a buckshot, game load, or a slug. We're going to compare all three of those, obviously, or just use those as comparison, or pistol rounds. What's the pros, cons, there, weaknesses, guys? Obviously, that's a lot of homework. You guys come to your own decision. What's most accurate for you to shoot? That's kind of what it also boils down to. I'm really good at shooting 5.56/223. I'm also really good at shooting 7.62x54R, so on and so forth. My wife, not so much with the heavier calibers, but she's a damn good shot with 5.56. So keep that in mind too. So that also does play in the role of, say, a cleaning kit, maintenance tools, so on and so forth. Do you have to bring specialized tools with you to run your system in case you need to break it down, or you have to clean it, or whatever you have to do? Because again, weapon maintenance is a real thing in the field. Because if you have a dirty weapon, it's not going to function. If you have a clean weapon, it's going to function for you, especially in a time of need. Now, moving on from there, distance to travel, we're going to go to environment, because that does play into the effect here. Do we find ourselves in the urban, suburban, or rural area? That does add to what I'm about to point out is, what is your possible average distance of engagement? Not that we're looking for a firefight. I'm not, but I will defend myself. That's for damn sure. I'm hope you guys are of the same mentality. But what is the average distance you can be engaged from? Is it, say, an urban area where it's probably going to be safe bet 25 meters, 50 meters possibly, or less on average? Is it going to be in the suburban area where it's going to be, say, 100 meters, maybe out to 150, 200-ish, somewhere around there? How does that look? Got to play with that feeling and number, and you can sit there in Google Maps. You can kind of map out, like, okay, hey, how far is it from this and whatnot. But also in the rural area, is it fields and farms? Is it woods and streams? Is it mixed? Like where I live at, it's a mix of both. That's why I have my AR-15 set the way I do. I have a nice scope on there. It's a Crossfire 2 3x9x40. It's from, I'm forgetting the company right now. Vortex, that's what it is. So that's kind of how much I really care about gear or names, honestly. But that's why I have that. It's comparable both. Now, side note here, too, if you do have a telescopic optic on your firearm, please have iron sights as well as backups and make sure those are sighted in, too. Because if this goes down for it breaking or it's just out of whack or whatever, I can always take this off. One, reduces weight and visibility, and two, it also... I can also use my backup irons as well. Thought, had a goldfish moment there. So that brings up the fact of possible threats. What are some possible threats here? What are you most likely to encounter in your environment? For me, it's a combination of both two-legged and four-legged predators. Now, that can be the usual black bear, mountain lion, wolf, can be coyotes. But we also have to think, too, hey, this is crap as a fan. Other people's dogs, so feral dogs, right? Or rogue dogs, whatever you guys want to call them. And also feral pigs. You have to think about that too. And heaven forbid you have some kind of zoo next to where you live at. I don't personally, but I mean, that's something you got to consider too. I mean, are these larger predatory animals or just large animals getting out of their enclosure, getting out of the zoo? Kind of a long shot, but could still happen. Now, that possible threat does take an effect of, okay, again, the weapon system. Are you going to use a single shot? Are you going to use a bolt, a pump action, a semi-auto? What are you going to be comfortable with in your environment carrying to combat those threats, or possible threats, I should say? That does also play into the role of caliber. Would I try to take down, say, a black bear with a 223/556? No, it's not the perfect caliber, but I don't believe in the whole stopping power thing either. I think mostly it's honestly due to shot placement. Does that mean I'm going to try to take down a black bear with a 22? Absolutely not. I mean, let's just use some common sense to be smart about it, right? But could I use my AR-15 to take down a black bear? Yeah, absolutely I can. Sure. Now, that also does play into the effect of type of ammunition. Okay, if you feel like your threat of two-legged predators is really low, say like way out in the boonies or sticks or, rural area, kind of like where I live at, if you feel like your threat is pretty low, okay, you might want to focus on getting more, say, full metal jackets. You might want to get actual hunting ammunition, right? And have that on hand to take care of those animals. And please buy the appropriate one, guys, because, for example, in the box of Winchesters, it does say for light-skinned animals, for medium game animals, for large game animals, so on and so forth. It kind of guides you through it. And obviously, you always do research on Google, guys. It just pulls up a bunch of stuff. But again, type of ammunition, if it's two-legged, obviously good old hollow point's going to do you favors. Now, that does bring up ammo quantity. How much ammunition are we going to carry on our backs, on our person, on the sled, wagon, whatever we're hauling with us to help carry extra stuff too? Okay, how much ammunition? How are we carrying that ammunition? Is it going to be on us solely? Is it going to be spread out amongst our group? Is it going to be in our little cart or something behind us that we're pulling? Again, sled, cart, whatever. How are we going to actually have the ammunition stored? Is it going to be in magazines? I hope so. Is it going to be in stripper clips? I would hope so too, if that's what your bow action takes. Is it going to be loose? Probably the worst option. However, if it's a single shot, a lot of people are like, well, that's how it should be carried for single shots. Well, no, not really. Get like a bandolier and you guys can stuff it in there. And at least it's organized, not you're reaching through your pocket looking for the buckshot and you're just grabbing game loads. Not a good time. Now, that does bring up the fact, again, of weight of ammunition. So how much it would be dictated, okay, can I carry more 12 gauge ammunition, again, a combination of game load, buckshot, and slugs, or can I carry more 5.56/223 and say 22 ammunition, like combination of that? Probably the latter. Now, bringing that up, we're going to talk about ammo commonality. I hope I pronounced that correctly. You want to, if you haven't really gotten to the whole self-defense situation or self-defense category of prepping, I should say, better yet, which, again, a lot of new preppers, just guys go immediately right there. Women go more so for the household type stuff. Ask my wife. We're actually thinking about doing a podcast type stuff, discussing all this stuff. Now, ammo commonality. You want as many guns as you can get that share the same caliber. Again, like say 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever AR-15s, depending on how many people in your family group or your group period can man a rifle, can shoot a rifle, can operate that rifle, right? Now, on top of that, ammo commonality, that does extend outside your group, outside what you have stockpiled per se. And quite frankly, I kind of the personal opinion that what you have stockpiled, if that's what you're doing, that's probably the ammo you're going to have. That's going to be your logistical supply, and that's probably it. You're not going to go out and scavenge and find ammunition, so on and so forth. More than likely not, it can happen, but that also brings ammo commonality of, okay, if you're a citizen and you're smart, hey, I want to get a 5.56 rifle or a rifle capable of shooting 5.56. Why? Because it's what our military uses. Okay, makes sense. Or 308, that can work too, but more likely 5.56. For pistols, it'd be 9mm. Okay, all in NATO still uses 9mm, at least to my knowledge. I know our military does here in the United States. And also 12 gauge. Why? Because not only is it used by law enforcement and the military, like the other previous calibers, but it's also the most common and most popular gauge of shotgun. 12 gauge out there is just, it's everywhere. Plus, I dare say the ammunition is probably more, or has more of a variety within it, from like game load to buckshot to slugs, so on and so forth, guys. Is kind of what it does. Now, to wrap this all up with a nice, neat little bow, okay, we're going to talk about training. How often are you training with your firearms? Is it once every 6 months? Is it just when deer season comes around? I hope not. I hope you're going out to the range, and yes, I understand things are expensive, but hey, this needs to happen because shooting is a perishable skill. I hope you guys are going out to the range and shooting live rounds. Now, granted, I understand you can get snap caps and do dry firing, and you can use a BB gun just to practice brass and so on and so forth. Guys, there's a lot of different ways to train, but in general, a lot of people want to go actually shoot their pew-pews. So that's fine. So a flat range would be a good place to start for the beginner, right? Get your brass down, as in brass, breathe, relax, aim, stop, squeeze. Like I teach all my children how to shoot. And then when you get that down, you're hitting from like, say, 25 yards with a rifle out to like 300 yards, and you do it consistently, and you can do it like that, no big deal. And you're doing push-ups, get your heart rate up, you're breathing you're breathing up, you're doing jumping jacks, whatever, kind of get yourself, worked up a bit, get on that rifle again, you can do that consistently. I'd probably move up your level of training if you have something available, either on private property or, say, a gun range allows you to do this. Not so common, but you can do shoot, move, communicate. Again, I'd probably do the safety thing first. I'd probably do dry runs until everyone understands what they're doing. But when it comes to live fire exercise, okay, please be very, very careful. Very careful, guys. Only do if you're really experienced and have proper training, as in gone to a school or some kind of training grounds and have been taught this stuff, which brings up this point here, guys, training. Yes, there's a lot of schools out there that offer this kind of training. One that has got my attention lately, and I'm not being paid by them to say this, so please don't call me a shill for them, but whatever, is Doug Thornton from AmericanVictor.com. Okay, good, solid Christian man. I like to promote his business because he's a Christian guy. And I like him. I listen to his news podcast. You guys should check him out too. It's American Vic Dicta. You can go to AmericanVicDicta.com. You can go down to his website, I'm sure, and you can find his training, right? And I think he charges like $600 for like 3 days. A little bit about this guy, guys. He is a former combat Marine Corps veteran. Okay, he served in Iraq. Then he was a police officer for a long time. And then also he worked for DHS too as a supervisor. So he knows his stuff, guys. So anyways, there's one school. You guys can pick out any school. Obviously, just like survival schools, you can pick anyone out there. So that's kind of the talk points I have today, guys. That's it. I know it's a little weird, and it's like, well, how can you recommend a gun or whatever? Again, it's as individual as the individual itself. So as always, guys, safe frosty, prep up. Yah bless. I'll see you in the next one.